And since the start of the new year, 15 to 20 million Chinese parents have a new right, that right to have a second child. The reform does not cancel out China's well-known one-child policy, which still applies to some, but it does relax it. For example, families in the countryside were already allowed a second child. That then spread to families if both parents were only children themselves. Now it applies if only one parent is a sole child. But can China really expect a baby boom? Well, it seems unlikely. You'll find out why in this report from Shannon Van Sant.
For just one day, this Beijing shopping mall transformed into a paradise for children and their parents. A consumers association organized a big sale of milk powder, toys, and other children's products, increasingly popular in China. Reforms to the one-child policy have just been adopted, and one would expect to see happy sellers full of hope for future sales. That's not the case.
Well, actually, a lot of Beijing mothers I know have no intention of having a second child. With this reform, there might be a slight increase in our sales, but it will be very limited.
In fact, the recent reforms impact 30% of urban residents, many of whom, like GE, do not want a second child. She is the mother of Bolin, a 4.5-year-old boy. GE and her husband are now eligible for a second child, but even they are not considering it, because in China, having a child is a huge investment.
The education of our child is one of the most important parts of our budget. Soon we'll be moving to another neighborhood that's closer to the better schools. We also pay for many of his hobbies so he can increase his competitiveness in society.
With the one-child policy, Chinese began betting everything on their single child, who has to excel in every field. During the day, Bolin goes to a bilingual kindergarten. In the evenings, he takes dancing and painting classes. And every Sunday, Bolin's mother takes him 30 kilometers away from his home to a very selective choir in downtown Beijing. All of this cost a lot of money for GE, who was a middle-class Chinese mother.
When you add it all up, that's a budget of 3,500 euros per semester. But that's nothing compared to some of his classmates who also attend private after-school classes every weekday.
In Shanghai, Yuan Jieling chose to enroll her son in an ordinary kindergarten in her neighborhood. She's part of a new generation of parents who refuse China's ultra-competitive education system. But she's still far from thinking about having another child.
When he goes to primary school, he'll feel the pressure immediately. That could twist his personality. So I think the best thing to do is to send my son to study abroad as soon as possible. The pressure here is enormous. I don't have enough energy to raise another child. That would prevent me earning money for myself, and I couldn't send my son abroad.
Until that time, Yuan Jieling already looks abroad for food. That's a growing trend for Chinese urban families.
Food safety standards in China are terrible. In the supermarket, I always go to the imported food section. When my child was very young, we used to order milk powder and even nappies from Japan over the internet. At that time, a can of milk powder was more than 30 euros.
China's birth rate is now below 1.5 children per woman. That's one of the lowest in the world. Many experts like Zhuo Xuejing say the one-child policy is now irrelevant.
Over the long term, the birth rate in China will be very low. Other Chinese communities like in Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau have the lowest birth rates in the world. And over there, they don't even have any birth control policies. The percentage of senior citizens in China will keep increasing in the future, which will impact the sustainable economic development of our country. So there will be big problems.
This aging demographic and a limited pension system have direct consequences on China's birth rate. Many young couples must sacrifice the money needed for a second child to financially help their elderly parents.
Shannon Van Sant there.